Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be reviewing Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. I tried to match my book with these ombre aqua lips, but I don't really know how it turned out. But I just needed to take a moment to appreciate the cover of this book because it's absolutely gorgeous. I was sent a copy of this book by Disney Hyperion, so thank you so much, Disney Hyperion, for giving me an opportunity to read this amazing book. I really loved Passenger. I'm definitely giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book really stands out to me because it's so different from her previous books. I absolutely adored The Darkest Minds, but honestly, if it wasn't for Alex Bracken's extremely unique and beautiful writing style, I'd probably think this was from a different author. And I mean that in the best way possible. Nothing makes me happier than seeing an author go completely out of their comfort zone and write something that readers aren't used to reading and do it so successfully. I was totally captivated by this book the entire time. It was just so cool to see two completely different characters in all these different locations and different time periods. It had its calm moments, it had its serious moments, and then it had its action-packed, heart-racing, adrenaline-pumping moments. Oh my god, it had everything that I ever wanted. I also love Etta and Nicholas as characters within themselves. I did have some problems with their romance to start off with, but I'm going to talk more about that in the spoiler section. But to be totally honest, that's really my only problem with the book, and it's not even like a big problem either. All in all, I thought this was a really wonderful time travel novel. I don't read a lot of time travel books, but I'm completely satisfied with Passenger. To sum up the book in a few words, it was refreshing and unique and beautiful and phenomenal and fantastic and just freaking amazing. It was a fun read, it was a well thought out read, it was a complex read, and it was just altogether a very well-rounded novel. That is it for the non-spoiler section. I'm going to be delving into some of the specific events that happened in this book, so if you haven't read Passenger yet, I'd recommend going out and getting Passenger and reading Passenger and then coming back so we can discuss it together because it was so good and you need to read it in your life right now. So bye non-spoiler people! First off, I really want to start by saying that this is an absolutely phenomenal world. Throughout the entire novel, we're learning the ins and outs of the history of travelers and what their lives are like at a really steady pace. I don't know why, but I honestly just wasn't expecting this much effort to be put into it. Like, they have the record keepers, and they have the financiers, and the shifters, who are the people that kind of put everything back in place when travelers mix it up during their traveling, and they have the enforcers. I just thought Alexandra Bracken created a really wonderful foundation for the story. I also think Passenger explains time travel really well. It's such a difficult topic to fully explain because you want it so that it's easy to understand, but also as complex as time travel really should be, and once again, Alexandra Bracken does a phenomenal job with that. I think my favorite aspect of this time travel world is that the astrolabe doesn't just call passages, it actually creates them. Like, they aren't just this randomly occurring natural phenomenon, because that would be the easy way out of writing a time travel book, and of course Alexandra Bracken isn't going to take the easy way out. It was really at that point where we found out what the astrolabe really does that the plot really picked up for me, and I was super interested to see where the story was going to go. To talk about the characters, I really love Etta. I tried to do a braid today inspired by Etta because she's always doing her hair in braids, and I like doing braids. That's not the only reason I like her. I like her for a lot of other reasons. Something I really love about her, though, is that I feel like her being a violinist really grounds her as a character. She's caught up in this crazy fantasy sci-fi world that she's just thrust into, and with all of the shit going on, she's still worried about making her debut. I just feel like it really gives Etta this humanistic characteristic because so many YA fantasy sci-fi dystopian protagonists have really nothing that makes them feel like a normal teenager that we can relate to, and I think a lot of us can understand why Etta would be so worried about something or have this crazy passion for something in her life. I also think Nicholas is a really interesting character. I just think he's really complex. I mean, there's so many different layers to him that we're constantly revealing throughout the novel. I will admit I kind of like Nicholas's sections of narration a little bit less than Etta's, just because I feel like when we were in Etta's mind, like, there was more dialogue. I feel like a lot of Nicholas's sections were like his internal thoughts, but there's nothing I would change about his character. Like, I think both Nicholas and Etta were really well-rounded characters. One thing that kind of bothers me about both of them is that they just become so intensely attached to each other so quickly. Like, I don't know the exact timeline of the book, but there's no way that it's more than a month. I think it's like in between 2 and 3 weeks, and like within the first 5 minutes of meeting each other, there's this connection that feels really forced in some kind of way. I mean, Nick jumps into the water to save Etta's life when he doesn't even know who she is. They just met. Not even just meeting her, like she literally threatened him with a spear like 10 seconds ago, and he's like, okay, I guess I'll just go risk my life for this girl that just tried to take mine. Their relationship, in my opinion, is really insta-lovey, but I don't have a problem with really insta-love. I just feel like I need to address that in a review. I absolutely love their character dynamic, and I feel like they have a really beautiful romance. I just think it blossoms really quickly, and I understand that this book, there's like a super enforced deadline, and so you kind of have to introduce the romance super early. So like I said, while I do feel like it's pretty insta-lovey, it's not a problem for me. It didn't alter my feelings on the book whatsoever. If anything, that's why I only got 4.5 rather than 5. That 1/2 star, that means like nothing in the span of things, because I really do love their relationship. I think it's really funny when Sophia is lecturing Etta on how she's not going to fit into the 1700s when she knows literally nothing about the 21st century. Like, girl, you wouldn't last 2 seconds in modern times. I love the scene where Etta smacks Ren. I could really feel the tension in the room when he's just spewing all of this hate. Like, I feel like I could literally see the red on Etta's face rising. Oh my god. When Ren says, "Careful, madam, blasphemy is a sin," and Etta just screams, "I guess I'll see you in hell." Absolutely iconic. I actually really felt sad for Sophia when she was explaining to Etta that even though she was like the closest thing that Cyrus has to an heir, she's not going to become it, and anyone else that could possibly fill that space is going to fill it just because she's a girl. I really like how the bit of misogyny was kind of thrown in there because I think it just exemplifies the time much better. Although I also kind of don't feel bad for her because that makes her have this like bloodlust to ruin Cyrus's life, and like I don't like that kind of resentment. So while I did sympathize with her at that point, I feel like at the end she really got what she deserved, because Sophia is a raging bitch, and I think that she totally deserved to be left for dead and beaten by the thorns. And so when she shows up at the end and like is going off with Nicholas, I'm really interested to see if there's like any room for redemption for her in Wayfarer, or if she's just a character I'm never going to like. One quick little detail that I absolutely loved were the journals. They totally reminded me of the journals that River and the Doctor keep in Doctor Who when they're like trying not to cross timelines, and that's kind of where like my roots of time travel are. Even though I don't have a lot of like time travel books that I've read, I love Doctor Who, so seeing a little reference, whether it was intentional or not, made me really happy. It was so freaking cool how Etta actually called the passage to her. I think that's another one of my favorite parts of this book. I kept wondering throughout the story as to why all of a sudden the passage shows itself to her. Like, I just didn't understand, like, why was this moment significant? And it's because she actually played the notes and the chords that it took to show the passage, or to call it the passage. It makes the point of her being a violinist even more interesting because she already has this tie with it to her normal mundane life, and now she actually has a connection with being a traveler with it. So it's kind of like fate that she's a violinist, and I really like that aspect. The scene where Etta meets Alice in London was really emotional for me. The realization that Alice was so confident that Etta could travel was because she had actually already had this meeting and remembered it, was just, it really got to me. Like, can you just imagine knowing you've already met someone that's going to be so close to you in the future before they've even been born? My heart basically broke when Alice's last words were actually the last words of their little meeting together, and she said them purposely so that Etta would connect the two later on. Oh my god. I just love all of these little intricate connections that Alexandra Bracken put into Passenger. It was really hard watching Etta have that internal struggle of trying to protect Alice and like saving her life in the future, but also wanting to do the right thing and have her live out her life the way that she's supposed to. Like, that whole section was written really well. I just feel like that whole section of World War II in London with Etta and Alice was really a turning point for the story. Another little thing that I thought was really cool was the letter that Augustus has wrote that said that he had met Rose in like Paris, I think it was actually Etta. Like, that was just so unexpected for me. I don't know why I didn't make the connection that people would be traveling through time and thinking that she was Rose when she's actually Etta. I just love the little reference to one small comment that was made earlier in the book and having it be this whole explanation and a major plot point. Quickly, one little thing that I forgot to mention earlier is I absolutely loved the messages in the letter. Another stroke of genius for Alexandra Bracken. I just thought it was so cool how like she identified what Etta had to draw in the title of it, like Etta, my sweet little star, or my heart, and then she drew it and all of the jumbling and the gibberish made sense. Oh my god, it was so freaking cool! The entire ending was so exhilarating. So much freaking stuff happened, and it just made the anticipation for Wayfarer even more intense. I'm like, I have 100 pages left, 50 pages left, 30 pages left. I'm like, how is any of this going to get resolved? I got so excited when Etta snatched the astrolabe. I'm like, yes, girl, do the right thing. And then it just dents and the thorns get away with it. Like, way to give me false hope, Alexandra Bracken. When Etta died, I was really confused. Not only because her actual death was actually really confusing and really had to be explained rather than reading along with it, but also, who the heck kills off the main character in the first book? Who does that? That was a gigantic risk to take, and I thought that Alexandra Bracken made the right decision doing that, because while she can actually be dead, she's really lost, and so the second book is really going to be a search not only for the astrolabe to get it back from the thorns, but to also find Etta. Rose shows up in the end like, hello, plot twist. Rose is also the one who murdered Alice. That plot twist didn't just say, hey, it fucking smacked me in the face. I still don't get why Alice had to die though. I mean, the whole time Rose is saying it was all part of the plan, it was all planned perfectly, but what role did the death of a close family friend actually have to play in this? I might have just missed the underlying reason for it, but I still don't understand what it did, because regardless, Etta was going traveling. Like, that was a fixed point of history. That's an important thing of time travel. It was gonna happen anyway, so would it have happened if Alice hadn't died? I really think so. I also really want to know why Etta had to have absolutely no training to find the astrolabe. I fully understand that Rose didn't want her training to affect her choices in finding the astrolabe, but she completely threw her daughter into this dangerous, completely unfamiliar world, basically like a sacrifice for the greater good, and I don't like that. It makes me feel really resentful towards her, and I really wanted to like Rose, but throughout the whole story, I just don't like her yet, and hopefully in the next book, she'll play a bigger role, so maybe I'll like her, but for right now, I don't like how she told Etta absolutely nothing. Also, so not only is Etta not dead, but Julian who died on like page 10. Julian, who is like the reason that Nicholas is the person he is today, is not dead as well. Honestly, who thought it was a good idea to throw all of this at me within 20 pages? Another thing, this mysterious Henry, who we hear about like twice, is Etta's father. To be totally honest, when Hassan showed up, I was really hoping it was gonna be Etta's father, because of course we're gonna find out who it is in the end, but I thought that would have been a good place for him to be thrown in, not just so nonchalantly and casually, like, oh, and also Henry's Etta's father, and then it just doesn't get discussed again. Like, what? How the heck do you drop that bomb on your lost daughter's kind of boyfriend? Come on. Some of the points in the book felt like they were kind of slow, and some points definitely dragged on a bit, which is another reason why I didn't give it a full 5-star rating, but the ending it made up for all of that. Like, I don't like to say that like a good ending made up for like problems in a book, but the ending was so fantastic. Near the ending of this book, I had no idea how anything was going to get resolved, and basically nothing got resolved. And so all it has done is create this hole in my heart that only Wayfarer can fill. I cannot tell you the last time I anticipated a sequel this much. Like, I finished the book a week before its actual release date, and I'm sitting here like, why isn't Wayfarer, the second book in the series, in my hand at this moment? All in all, Passenger was absolutely fantastic. I am so unbelievably happy to see Alexandra Bracken expanding her horizons as a writer and doing it so successfully. It was honestly the perfect book for me to end off 2015 with, and I loved it so much. So those are all of my thoughts on Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. Don't forget to leave your thoughts on this amazing book in the comments of this video so we can just discuss all of its fantabulousness. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!